conversation is actually quite interesting, but before we delve into that, we want you to take a listen to this.
It's not the end to what we have done. It's not the end to United Nigeria. It's not the end to Brothers Keeper. But these senators I called were with me. I never lacked. When the PDP that I was governor for 2 terms was being formed, I brought every money they used in forming that party. Every penny in 1997 and 98. And I later became a thief. And people I gave transport money from my house in VI became angels. This is what Nigeria represents. I want to thank my colleagues for giving me these 4 years of uninterrupted support. Because this country is not fair to so many of us.
Well, if tears would count, we could say KALU already secured a head start. But unfortunately, oratory is one thing, but gathering the votes really is the main thing, isn't it? All right, gentlemen, here's my first question to you. Senator KALU is certainly a strong politician, but not on Friday. He couldn't hold back being human, right? And then one would actually think, why exactly are you crying? Where did Nigerians do you wrong? You are actually saying that you're expressing your happiness and your journey all through. What exactly was the reason for the tears, isn't it? Isn't that what everyone is going to ask? Why are you crying? Please, Mr. Elvis, why was KALU crying?
Emotional cry.
Oji baby KALU.
It could be emotional. At least the 9th assembly is winding down. Yes.
Please, how?
He said he had 3 factories in Lagos. He had in Ota, and he also have in Aba, where about 13,000 Nigerians are employed, which
30,000.
Which he pay salaries to families. But he was indicted that they called him a thief, according to the language he used. That they called him a thief, and he was arrested and jailed. But this is somebody whom Nigeria knows his source of wealth, that he is an industrialist.
Mr. Elvis, I want you to hold that thought. I think we need to re-listen to it. I don't know if we properly, if the audio that was played was the right one, but I want us to re-listen to that audio. I think possibly our listeners can understand, and even those who are watching us on YouTube can actually understand the reason why we're talking about this.
It's not the end to what we have done. It's not the end to United Nigeria. It's not the end to Brothers Keeper. But these senators I called were with me. I never lacked. When the PDP that I was governor for 2 terms was being formed, I brought every money they used in forming that party. Every penny in 1997 and 98. And I later became a thief. And people I gave transport money from my house in VI became angels. This is what Nigeria represents. I want to thank my colleagues for giving me these 4 years of uninterrupted support. Because this country is not fair to so many of us.
Mr. Elvis, you heard him say that he had money and he could buy what he wanted to buy at any point in time. In that audio you listened, there were pauses. Those pauses, if you have, that was where he, you know, he put his head down, and you could tell when somebody's trying to reminisce. Remember the audio he's been through, and then it felt like they targeted him, they humiliated him, and somehow they were clogged to his political career. What's your take on, you know, that show of, I don't know, if he's trying to solicit for empathy?
Yeah, he has to. It was just an avenue for him to clear his name, because at least they are transiting from one session to another. That's the new National Assembly that will be coming up this week. And remember, he was only looking at where Nigeria was not favorable to him. He should also have been able to still tell us where Nigeria was. He has been 2-time governor of a state, 8 years. I think this is his 3rd time in the House now as senator. So if Nigeria have been so good to you in this area, from where you also have this good, you also have some infractions, some bad things could also come up. But he was trying to clear his name that he is not a thief. That he has made money even before he came into politics. Yes, we know he was also actually a millionaire. We knew most of his businesses before he came into politics. But where he was indicted was that he got himself fingered in the state coffers. So, and the law did not really say, what I learned from the law then, that did not really say that he was not involved. But you know, he was brought out of the prison because of technicalities.
Yes.
They said the judge who sat on the judgment has already been transferred to a higher court, I think Court of Appeal, but that he was not supposed to sit on that judgment. And as he thought, you know,
He was not supposed to come and deliver the
to
judgment.
deliver that judgment. So our lawyers look for this technicality.
Because he was like a dual judge now.
So at the end of the day, it was not as if the law did exonerated him that he was not a thief, but just that technicalities. And remember when he was also released, EFCC told us that they were going to prosecute him further. Until today, we have seen.
We've not heard anything.
That's almost about 3 years of jail report now. We've not heard anything. So
because he was not discharged and acquitted on the substantive issue that brought him to court.
But we were expecting the EFCC to act
because
further.
if it was on a substantive issue on the merits of the case, EFCC cannot go back to introduce that issue again. But if you go to court on a criminal charge, and then that charge is quashed on technicalities or certain things that were not properly done, what the court is saying that the procedure that enabled you to bring this matter to court was erroneous, but not that the person is free from that allegation as alleged. So that doesn't extricate you from the guilty.
So, but
3 years running now.
You can still go
3
back.
years
He is telling us he is
But
not a
we
thief.
know, yes, sorry, okay, I can go on.
He said he is not a thief now.
No,
which means
what I'm
what
yes,
he is
no, you're
saying
supporting
now-
what you're saying is in order.
Yes.
I'm not in
I
any
know,
way
exactly.
contradicting what I'm saying.
I understand.
So EFCC, but I know EFCC will not do that. Yes, because I know Nigerian factor will basically come in.
Which the factor has actually come in.
Yes.
Yes.
Nigerian factor, because in the part of Nigeria where I come from, there's a language that says that it's only a tree that will come and tell him that you are going to cut him down tomorrow.
And he waits.
And he
And
will
he
remain
waits.
there. So when you tell a human being that I'm going to cut you down tomorrow, he just
He has to
so for the fact he survived that's
Coming out. He has to
coming
start
out.
moving. He has to start
He
also
will do
moving.
everything
He will move.
within his
Powers.
capacity and powers and everything to make sure that he reach out to
He doesn't get to that level again.
or talk to those that will talk to EFCC. Or talk to those that will talk to those that will talk to those that will talk to EFCC.
And that's where we are now.
So the question is that why the tears? Why was he crying?
I don't understand why Ojokali is crying. For me, like what my brother here said, Ojokali should be very, very grateful to the Nigerian society that made him, that made him popular, made him rich, made him known. There are several millions of people that were never given the opportunity of being known, even in their hometown. Some people are known only in their village, and they are still very, very grateful that they were able to be known in the village, let alone in the town. If you get to the level of being known all over your whole town, God has done you well. Let alone local government, states,
And
federation, and Nigeria. And he has not come out to tell us that he made this money, he said he made in Nigeria from Cameroon, or from Ghana, or from US or Canada, and brought them back to Nigeria. Nigeria gave him that money. Nigeria made him. And he enjoyed every good things that can come out of this country. He was a governor for 2 times. And unfortunately, that was where he got it wrong. He didn't perform as a governor in Abia State. He led a terrible foundation
For the 10 years.
for the 2 tenures in that state. And Abia people are still trying to recover from that.
Do you think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were disputing him having to clinch the ticket as
Yes,
president?
he didn't have a home-based support. When Peter Obi was going for president, people they were calling Anambra people, who is this man? Who is this man? Tell us how people from Anambra, majority of them, up to 95% of people of Anambra, said that Peter Obi did well whenever you call them. Because they were not saying because they love him. They were saying it because that was what actually happened during his term. But in the case of KALU, his home base, Abia people, will even pray for him to die in that prison.
Chai.
Because of the way he ran that, apart from any football that he was using to used to confuse people that time, he didn't do Aba was the dirtiest city in Nigeria. In fact, Aba became very, very backward.
I think
As what Aba used to. You know, when we say Aba shoe, Aba made, Aba this, he couldn't even leverage on that. And the city became backward. Aba was almost at par with Port Harcourt. And they were neighboring states there. But Port Harcourt became so far ahead of Abia State and Aba and the rest of them.
So when he says, when he was referring to the fact that Nigeria, no, Barrister Joe, when he was referring to the fact that Nigeria was unfair to him,
he is unfair to Nigeria because they provided him opportunity of serving a state and he couldn't run that state well. He had his fingers in the coffers of Abia State. That was when he launched his slug airline and several other things. He put his son in the sales. And that was why Theodore Oji was able to get him. For instance, I'm saying calling Peter B again, I'm so sorry I'm mentioning him. When the governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano took over, Willie Obiano did everything possible to indict Peter B. Everything. I let the Peter B not drop any more about it. Peter B came up with all the facts and everything. Obiano come up with you. I was in the committee of League of Anambra Professionals. Obiano come up with you, he ran away. Even Soludo was able to talk his soul and say, prove it. Where the school without roof, Soludo ran away. He couldn't get come with secondary pistol. Because they couldn't indict him. They have the mind of dealing with him. But they couldn't do that because they have nothing to show. Even the cover, even the records of the states after he left office. But KALU got into a trap. Because Theodore Oji, his SY godson that fell out with him, was able to get him very well from all the embezzlements and frauds and things he did in Abia State. And then gave it to EFCC. Take, this is what they're looking for. Take him up. And they took him. And he was convicted in the lower court.
Let's also
just a point now. So, that was how he being called a thief came up. Because a lower court has already pronounced him guilty of that offense. That was why he was in prison. He has been pronounced offense as a thief in the lower court. You're guilty of putting his sons in the teeth of the state. Before before the judge that now gave that judgment, before he was elevated to appeal, when he was elevated, he still came back to the lower court to give that judgment.
But Barrister Joe, one would say that that particular state, after Orji Uzor Kalu, it's like the next governor that came on board.
The cycle continued. Until this so tonight, it was even that they tried to have a lease of life. Somebody from there called me. Because I'm particularly concerned about this. I'm not from there. But I knew this state has potentials. Aba is like very productive in local manufacturing and
manufacturing of
so
it is
the Eastern Nigeria is losing a lot. Nigeria is losing a lot. Africans are losing a lot for that. By that Aba to be not to be like developed to the level
viable.
It should be viable in manufacturing. All these Chinese things we are importing, Nigeria shoes and whatever. These people can do it better than that. At the point they were even moving things to Angola, to Senegal, to other African. We were controlling African market. But eventually, those things like where are the roads that those foreigners who used to come to that state? Where are the places they will stay? For 8 years.
That is
Theodore Oji continued for that same pattern. The one that came continued in that pattern until this
Alex
Otin, everybody is now praying that
he
he will do something differently. So KALU, from there he came to the Senate. When he came to the Senate, what did he do? If not politics. Can he point certain things he has done in the Senate?
So
apart from the fact that he cross-carpeted from PDP to APC. How is he now crying that Nigeria did not favor him? Is it PDP that gave him that ticket that he later abandoned PDP and then crossed over to APC? APC is still studying him. He was not a founding member of that party. He was not part of them when they started. And they even did well by giving him chief whip. I don't know why he's crying.
Mr. Elvis, is it safe to say that the 10th Senate, as far as the Igbo interests go, may end up getting the post of Deputy Speaker?
Deputy Speaker, they said they are not looking for it. They have been saying they don't need that. Let me still come from this angle of Orji Uzor Kalu. Remember, Theodore Oji that succeeded him was his chief of staff. And he was even in EFCC cell when that election that brought him as governor was held. Everything that brought Theodore Oji to Abia State Government House was done by Orji Uzor Kalu to bring him in.
The whole Godfather thing.
That's Godfather and Godson, But along the line, they fell out. Then that's when we now began to see that he was now telling the world that his Oga has touched some areas that needed to be investigated. But let us also remember that Orji Uzor Kalu himself had a deputy that he orchestrated his impeachment, Abaribe.
Abaribe.
He was impeached because he saw that Abaribe was not towing the same line with him. But today Abaribe is still in the Senate, and Abaribe has, as a result, he has to leave everything that has to do with the state and started finding his way through his senatorial district that brought him to Senate. Today, he's in the Senate. Today, I think this 10th assembly now, he just won it under Abga. He has left PDP and went to Abga and just got it. So the issue of deputy Senate president or whatever, I think to be fair to the certain part of Nigeria, especially my own part of Nigeria, South, or whatever, 8 years of Chief Obasanjo's regime as president of the administration as president of this nation, the Igbos had it, the Easterners had it, from Eweren to Adolfo Suabara to
Akadigbo, Anipaya
Sanyo, to Unamani. They had it. And to be fair, South has never had it. We've only had deputy Senate president. That's someone that just left now. We've never had it. So if people are talking about, I'm not biased because I also want us to also have a feel of it. I'm not saying that the person they are talking about should be the person to be. There are other senators from my state, in my area, that can also get it. So if they feel deputy can go to the south, to the east, and the Easterners are comfortable with it, why not?
All right, that's interesting. Like I told you, we're currently streaming live on YouTube. It's at VOPTV Live and at VOP 90.3 FM on YouTube. And of course, our WhatsApp number there will definitely be on your screen. It's 0700 903 9039. That's a WhatsApp number,